Welcome back to the Just Build Baby Studio. You're listening to the BuildX podcast, your ultimate guide to creating exceptional homes, innovative spaces, and staying informed on all aspects of residential building technology. I'm your host, Buzz Artiano. Today, we're excited to have Lisa Spinetti in studio with us. Lisa is the owner of Lisa's Interior Painting with over 30 years experience in interior painting. Welcome, Lisa, to the show.
Thank you.
Glad to have you here. So I know we talked a couple, 3 months ago. We know each other from the gym, obviously. Mm-hmm. And I was interested to hear about all things in painting. And I was intrigued. I had never spoken to anyone that just painted interior cabinets.
Yes.
So that's what we're going to talk about today. So if you're interested in painting your cabinets, lock in. This episode is for you. So tell us a little bit about how you got started. You know, take us back, before you started interior painting and how you got into that.
Okay. I would have to say painting's pretty much always been in my blood. My dad was actually a paint salesman.
Okay.
Since he was, a young guy for his entire life, worked in a store and worked his way up to commercial sales. And my mother was a ceramic teacher.
Okay.
So literally from the time I could walk, I had a paintbrush in my hand.
Okay. So you were painting and decorating ceramic things.
Yes.
Interesting.
And I took a lot of courses when I was very young, like a young teenager, in painting techniques, like brush strokes and things like that for the ceramics. But it kind of all carries over.
Okay. So you're technically trained.
Technically.
Yeah. Yeah, no, you've had a lot of technical training.
Yeah, definitely with those kind of courses, for that. And then with my dad, I was always helping him, so if he was painting the house or the deck, whatever he was doing, I was working with him, so picked up a lot of tips from him. Yeah.
And so then your first adventure was a nail salon?
Yes. So right out of high school, I went to take the course for manicuring. And started working with a woman from Plymouth who was opening her own salon. She kind of took me under her wing, taught me all the ropes for running her business. And
so those were mini paintbrushes?
Mini paintbrushes, a lot of detail work.
Sure.
I even did a ton. Back then, that was in the late 80s. Everybody was into the nail art, little tiny brushes painting little pictures and things on the nails and the holiday things. I did that for a good 20 years while my kids were little. It was perfect because I could just keep adjusting my schedule from preschool to, full-time, part-time, whatever it was. But I'm a mover. I like to be up and moving around. So I was just tired of sitting behind the desk, so.
Oh, right. Yeah, so sitting down a lot.
Sitting down all day.
And so how did so take me to that transition. All of a sudden one day someone asked you to paint some cabinets or
Well, I had always painted on the side, either for myself or for friends, So
you were dabbling
I was dabbling
already.
in it, yeah. And then I just started picking up some side jobs, little by little, but while I still had the salon, whenever I could squeeze something in. And then that's what kind of got my wheels turning, saying, I really enjoy those days when I'm out doing that kind of work.
Okay.
So one day I just said, I'm going to bite the bullet here and switch over from a nail salon to painting homes.
Okay. So when you were doing the side jobs, you were painting more than just cabinets then? You were doing regular painting? So
regular painting, interior
walls,
painting.
whatever.
And again, that was late 80s, early 90s. People were into a lot of murals,
Sure.
So I did a lot of kids' rooms with murals on the walls. So that was all detailed kind of painting.
Yeah. So there's a lot of creativity. That you've been doing. You're not just painting, you're creating artwork with paint.
Now it's just regular painting. It's really not so much murals or anything like that anymore. Wallpaper's coming back, but I don't wallpaper.
All right, so
Don't ask.
Nobody call about wallpaper.
Nope.
You're going to get a hard no.
Definitely.
All right, we'll work you into it. We'll have a repeat episode when you start doing wallpaper. So how did that niche come about where you said, you know what, I'm just going to paint cabinets?
So it's not just cabinets now, but I would say it's the majority of my work.
So you will paint other things?
Oh, yeah, definitely. I definitely still do regular interior painting. Rooms. Yeah, all interior. Exterior, not so much anymore. I don't like being on those big ladders outside anymore. I did it in the beginning. That's for the young guys. Leave it to them. So that kind of mixed those in with the cabinet jobs, because when I'm doing the set of cabinets, I take the doors home. I work on them. I have my garage set up like a workshop.
All right, well, before we get to that though,
Yeah.
now you've decided you're going to add some cabinets in.
Mm-hmm.
So describe to me the process. Let's not just go cabinets or doors are off. Like,
Yeah. Okay.
you go and look at it and you say this is a candidate.
I do. Yeah.
So what's a good candidate?
So-
What's a not so good candidate? How does that happen?
Okay. So when people call me and ask for an estimate, come look at their cabinets, I usually now will have them send me a couple pictures of their kitchen.
Ahead of time?
Yeah, just so I kind of know what I'm going to be getting into when I get there. But I always want to see them in person.
Sure.
So as long as they're in good shape, obviously not broken doors and things like that. I try to think of what the material would be that I couldn't do.
Like if it's for mica or whatever.
For mica, yeah, that kind of stuff. Anything that's been refaced or resurfaced with
Right.
those skins or whatever, no,
it's not a
nothing like that.
candidate.
No.
Okay.
No.
And so in this process, so first you make sure it's a good candidate.
Mm-hmm.
Then you go and meet with the customer. At that point, you give them a price to do the work,
Yes.
right? And so,
I
again, not to hold you to it, but just for people, what is like an average kitchen cost?
So it's funny because a lot of people will say, oh, I have a small kitchen. I don't have that big of a kitchen. And even a little kitchen like the corner of this room,
Is a
if
lot
you
of work.
start counting all the doors and
Right.
the drawers, because that's how I figure it out for the most part.
Okay.
I count up the doors. An average kitchen, I'm going to say, is about 25 doors. Let's say that's average size. I'm going to say average kitchen, and again, it all depends on
Yeah,
how they're
complexity. I'm
set
just
up.
looking for a range.
Yeah, a range. I'm going to say anywhere from 33 to 6,000.
Okay. Yeah.
And again, it's just where it is just my company. My overhead's not as big as
Sure.
bigger companies,
Right.
so I can keep my prices a little bit more competitive.
Right.
So
So I love my cabinets. I like
Mm-hmm.
my layout. I want to change my countertop. I'm sure that comes up
Oh,
in
yeah.
this conversation.
All the
right? So
time.
you're coordinating that with that, or you're doing that
not
after
so much.
the
I'll
cabinets?
help them, like if they need help picking something out.
No, but I mean,
know.
so if I want to change my countertops, do you
Oh,
want to
time
go,
frame wise?
Yeah, do you want to go after or before?
It doesn't really matter.
Okay.
So I'm very flexible with that. Yeah, whether
Okay.
it's countertops
And then what about my hardware? I love my cabinets. I hate my hardware.
So hardware can be changed obviously very easily. I don't re-drill or drill holes. So if they just have the one hole for a pull and not like a knob instead of a handle, we leave it at that. You can change that out because once you drill a new hole, you can't just use that one hole. That has to be filled. You have to drill
Right.
2 new holes. It's just harder to line it up, and it's harder to get rid of those little marks. So for me, I keep it simpler because I'm not a carpenter.
Not
you know.
yet.
Not yet. So yeah, we can change the hardware, but just keep it to whether it's a pull or a knob.
Okay.
You know.
So we can change hardware as long as we're staying in the same parameters that's
Yes.
there.
Yes.
What about hinges? Can we change the hinges? What does that look like?
You don't usually need to change the hinges,
Okay.
and on the older cabinets, because a lot of times people will call and it's like those old oak cabinets, you know,
Sure.
from like the 70s or whatever. Sometimes I will spray paint if they have those hinges that are on the outside.
Sure.
Because it's hard to replace those, and if you replace them now, you're looking at drilling new
Right.
holes.
Right. So you'll kind of refurbish those hinges,
What they have.
redecorate
Yep.
them. Now, what about, so that, we're going to obviously talk about the outside in a minute, but what about the inside of my cabinets?
We don't do the inside. So when you open your door, there's just one little ridge around the edge,
Yeah.
maybe a quarter of an inch or whatever. That gets painted, but not the box inside.
Okay, so if my inside of my box is ugly, what do I do?
You could put that
Contact
paper. I think they have prettier stuff out now.
Yeah, actually,
clean it
this
up.
is contact paper.
This
believe
is?
it.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Yeah. So something like that. But most people, don't really need to do much on the inside of the cabinets. If they're really bad, I suppose.
Yeah, yeah.
But if you paint them, they're just going to get all scratched up
Oh, good point.
on the inside.
Right.
Yeah.
So now it's a candidate. We've got it worked out. We've
Yeah.
got our price.
Right.
Right. And now take me through what happens next. What do you do on site?
So on site, my first day, that's the longest day. That's my prep day, getting everything ready. I take off all of the doors, the hardware, the hinges. I label everything because I've learned over the years that it can be putting a jigsaw puzzle back together
Sure.
if you get it mixed up.
Yeah.
Even the hinges. So, if this is cabinet door 1 and this is cabinet door 2, I leave the hinges for each door in the base of the cabinet because
Okay.
sometimes they're drilled just that little
Sure,
bit
yeah.
off.
Yep.
So those stay there. I take the doors home with me on the first day, In the meantime, that first day, I get the bases all cleaned, prepped with like a little bit of sanding. And if there's any little like nicks and dings here and there that need a little either caulking or wood filler, stuff like that, and primed. So I get all that done first day.
Right. So you're hand painting with a brush?
I do it by hand. Yes, I don't spray.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah,
Even the doors.
Even the doors, and you can't tell. You don't find brush strokes. I've mastered my technique.
Sure. So now we've prepped. So that's day one.
Yes.
All the doors went home with you.
Yes.
And now what happens next?
I come back on day two, and I get your first coat of I usually use advanced cabinet paint. That'll be the first coat on the bases on day two.
Well, bases and uppers, obviously, if you're painting.
I mean bases meaning, all the boxes.
Whatever's left.
All
Whatever
the boxes. To me, that's the base cabinet.
Yeah, to me, the base is the bottom.
Oh, okay.
Right? Yeah.
Yes. So all of that gets prepped, first coat of paint on the second day.
Okay. So now I still can't use my cabinets.
No. So the whole process, generally on an average kitchen, I usually book a week and a half.
And I can't use it at all in that week and a half?
Oh, no, you can use it. You don't have to empty your cabinets because they're not getting painted in there.
So we've got one coat on, then what happens? You come do the next coat?
I come and do the second coat.
On the frames?
On the frames, yep. So in between, I've gotten the
doors. Now,
doors.
are you painting the end panels as well?
Yep.
So
all the end panels, everything. Yeah, from the toe kick all the way up to the crown that goes to the ceiling.
Got it.
I'll recaulk, everything, especially the crowns up at the top.
Right, and so if I need you to paint that ceiling, you're going to paint that at the same time?
If I had to, the ceilings are not my favorite, but as long as there's no major damage, like water damage, anything like that, I don't do the repair. But if it's just,
you're going to put these
just a
beautiful
fresh coat of
cabinets, right?
Yeah, if it's just a fresh coat of paint, definitely.
Okay.
There are plenty of kitchens that I've done that have all of the panels over the appliances.
Right.
So those are, a lot more work, but I mean, I do all of that. All of those panels get painted in place. I don't take all that apart.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
the first couple days I'm in your house short term, other than the first day.
Right. So now we're done with the two coats on my frames, right?
Yes.
Now can I start to use my kitchen now?
You can use the kitchen, sure.
I just don't have any doors.
You just won't have doors for about a week and a half.
Right.
Yeah.
What about the drawer fronts? Do you take those off?
No, those stay.
Okay, so you paint those in place.
I paint those in place, yes.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah.
So now the doors are back at your place.
They're at my place.
And what's happening to the doors?
So same thing, they get cleaned, they get prepped with some sanding. If they need degreaser, a lot of the cabinets around the stove, microwave, all of that need to be really cleaned up well. And that's the biggest factor in getting a good product at the end is having them nice and clean, to start with.
It's all about the prep.
It's all about the prep, yeah.
Yeah, and then you're using the same paint on those, you're brushing. Now
Brushing
those are
and
laying
rolling.
flat while you're brushing them?
Flat, yeah. I have banquet tables all laid out, and then I have these little stands that go for each one of the doors.
Yep.
And they get usually one coat a day, sometimes two, because you've got to wait about 6 hours before you can flip them.
Oh,
if you're
so you're painting both sides.
Yeah, if you're spraying, you're going to hang them, and you can just zip all around it.
Right.
But spraying, I mean, obviously it's a whole technique too. But if you get a drip when you're spraying, you've got to let that dry, sand it, start over. With what I do, it's a brush and a roller. They have these new flock kind of rollers now. I use a foam roller for the primer, but there's these new flock ones that are even smoother, and there's no brush marks when you go over it with that. So if there's your trim, like your picture frame trim, that's what you want to cut in with your brush, and then you go over it with the roller afterwards and takes out all of the marks.
Right, and are you doing any sanding in between?
In between, after the primer, they'll get a light coat of sand, yeah.
Okay.
And then once the main paint goes on, pretty much no sanding unless you end up with, a little something on there. But you wait about 6 hours before you can flip them. So it's not like I can do 2 coats in a day,
Right.
And you want it to dry well in between each coat.
And how many coats do the doors get?
2 to 3, so it depends. A lot of times the white cabinets will get it 3 to 4. Like I'll get 3 on before I bring them back to your house. Then once I get them back on, I may do like another quick one just to kind of make sure.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it all depends
So
on
you're
the
going to
wood.
come back, you're going to reinstall all the doors.
I'm going to reinstall and put
all the
everything
hinges
back.
on.
All the hardware.
Take all your tape away. Clean it up.
Put new bumper pads. I do little bumpers,
little
those.
silencers.
All of that.
Nice. And so that's about a week and a half, that whole process?
Week and a half to 2 weeks. I mean, depends on the size of the kitchen. Yeah.
Yep. So when something's not a candidate for repainting, what do how do you break that news to the people?
You just got to tell them.
You just give it to them straight?
Yeah, unfortunately, yep.
All right. So
I will say there was one, because quite a few years back, the wax, what was her name? Sloan, something Sloan wax paints that people were doing at home on their own to like refinish furniture. You didn't have to prime, you didn't have to prep, you just put this stuff on and then this waxy finish. I had a client big, beautiful kitchen, and she had done that herself. They didn't look bad, I'm sure, when she first did them, but now they've all worn and she wanted them painted, and I'm like, I can't strip all of that off. I don't know, because of all of that waxy finish that was put on. So something like that, can really make it difficult to redo them, I guess.
And so, so you'll do 10 cabinets or 200?
Oh yeah. For the size
For the
wise.
size?
Oh yeah.
So I have a big kitchen, you'll come do it. If I have a small,
bathroom vanities,
kitchen.
a lot of bathroom vanities.
So any cabinet.
Built-in bars and in the kitchen, islands. I've had people that they love their cabinets and they don't like the island.
Right.
Or they just want to pop a color because everything's white.
Right.
Sterile and white. So then they'll do, a nice navy blue or a mossy green, just to pop a color on the island.
Right. Mm-hmm. So I read in here that you work alone.
Yes.
So no helpers, no. So if I hire you,
you're getting me and my work. Yes. And part of the reason for me doing that is because people from the beginning were hiring me for my work. So you don't want to hire me and then I send in this, somebody else. And then even if I've trained them, it might not be the same work. And then I've got to go in and fix it or redo.
Right.
So for me, it's just simpler this way.
So if we hire Lisa, we're getting Lisa.
You're getting Lisa.
All right. That's good then. So we're going to switch gears here a little bit now. Well, is there anything else you want to tell the people about painting the cabinets that I forgot to ask?
Well, I guess just that taking care of them afterwards.
Okay,
yeah.
So you're done. That's a good
I'm
point.
done.
So now our kitchen's done.
Kitchen's done.
And so what's my maintenance that I need to do?
Maintenance is very little. I always tell people to treat them like they're wet for another week, even though they're dry to the touch.
Okay, so let that paint harden
Let that paint harden. It can actually take a good 60 to 90 days for paint to really cure to its hardest. But after a week or so, they're fairly strong. Cleaning them, just a soft cloth with warm soapy water, like a Dawn dish soap, something like that. Nothing scrubby, no chemicals, nothing abrasive, because it's just like painted woodwork in your house.
Sure.
So you just want to treat them gently. Touch-ups are generally pretty easy over time. I've had people call me like a year later and say, oh, I'm having a Christmas party or a graduation party, and we've got a few little, dings here and there.
Okay.
So I can come back out and just do a quick touch-up.
So as long as I have my cabinets, you're willing to come back. I mean, obviously there's a fee for that.
Exactly. Yes.
Right, but you're willing to come back up and touch
And I
it up.
always leave the paint. Whatever paint we used, there's always some left over, so we leave that and we have that for touch-ups.
Okay. Mm-hmm. All right, so this is full service, concierge. We get the Lisa. Lisa. We get Lisa from Lisa's Painting.
Yes.
She shows up and does the work. All right, well, that's good for people to know, because I think a lot of people are nervous about having unknown people in their house.
True.
Right? And
Yes.
so they've met you, and now they're going to know all about you even more than they already do.
Yeah.
And they're going to say, we really like Lisa, we want her here. And then all of a sudden, Jimmy shows up and they says, where's Lisa?
Right.
Right? So we don't have that experience.
Right.
All right, so switch gears a little bit. So who were some of your early mentors that influenced you?
I honestly can't say I have any for this.
Well, you had
I had my dad.
Yeah.
Really, for painting. And I mean, I was constantly calling him and asking him questions, about paints and products and stuff. But yeah, I never really worked under anybody else, for any length of time. There was one painter that I worked for a very short amount of time, but it wasn't like I was a mentor for me. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So what were some of your early challenges that you faced?
Oh, cabinet hinges. They're all different. And I've had a couple of times. So I have a cousin who was a cabinet maker. And I've actually called him a couple times. He lives down in Mashpee, and I'd be in Braintree or Hanover, and I'd be like, Paul, I can't figure this one out. So I get him on the phone with either, a phone
FaceTime.
thing. But he's also ran up and helped me a couple of times.
Wow, okay.
So
shout out to Paul.
Yeah, he's good, Paul Coronella.
Yeah, and he's a cabinet maker?
Yes.
Okay, well, we might have to have him on the show.
Custom stairs and cabinets, yeah.
Okay, we'll have to get Paul on the show. What's the name of his company?
I think it's just Coronella Construction or something like that. I'll have to double check it, but.
All right, well, we're gonna put that up on the podcast as well.
Okay.
All right, so now we're gonna get into the fun stuff.
Okay.
So one tip you'd offer someone hiring you, what's a tip you would say to someone that wants to, be a good customer for you?
Be a good customer. Okay.
Yeah.
Clean up the kitchen before I come.
Okay.
Like clear off. I always tell people just clear off the counters because I use the counter surface anyway.
Sure.
But a lot of people don't think about, I'm going to be laying on your floor. If I open a cabinet door, I don't want everything falling out. So just kind of like organize that kind of stuff.
Yeah. So that's a key point. So I don't need to empty the whole cabinet.
No.
That's interesting.
Yeah. I mean, if the sanding that I'm doing, I'm not using like a power sander or anything like that. It's by hand. So it might be a little dust, but I'm very neat and organized. And everybody tells me that. They're like, oh my God, can't even tell you were here,
Okay.
So
All right.
organized. But that's the little bit of sanding. Yeah. You just can't have stuff falling out of the cabinets.
So would you say that's the common misconception? That it's going to be a lot of dust?
Maybe. Yeah, messy,
Yeah, so that's kind of the misconception about your work?
Mm-hmm. I guess so.
Yeah. All right, so favorite tool you can't live without? And you can't say paintbrush.
My scraper.
The scraper?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
All right.
I use that thing for everything.
All right, industry trends you've noticed?
I guess the biggest thing is probably color.
Okay.
Yeah.
More bold colors?
Yes. Bold but soft, I guess. More color now.
Okay.
For years, everything was white and gray.
Right.
White and gray, because everybody had dark cabinets.
Sure.
Now a lot of blues and greens, and it's fun. It's fun to do the colors, and it's fun to post those pictures because it's so dramatic looking.
Sure.
So that's the biggest change, I think, over the last couple of years. There's been a lot more color.
All right. Dinner, if you could have dinner with anyone alive or dead, who would it be?
I hate these things. Oh, gosh, I don't know.
Come on, somebody you'd like to have dinner with that's alive or dead.
Elvis?
There you go. We had Michael Jackson last week.
Young Elvis.
Young Elvis, okay.
Elvis. Yeah, I don't know. I don't put a lot of thought into stuff like that.
All right. Dream project you'd love to work on?
Oh, I would love to probably flip a house on my own.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so buy a fixer-up or fix it up and then sell it.
Or keep it. Depends.
Okay,
Depends
all
on where
right.
it is. If I found something cute.
All right. Best piece of advice you've ever received?
Sounds kind of cliche, but not to give up, just to keep trying. Yeah.
Keep fighting.
Yeah, keep fighting. Yeah.
Pick up and throw mountains.
Exactly. Figure it out. Don't give up. Figure
There you
it
go.
out.
If you had $10 million to donate to charity, what would you do with it? You can give it to any charities you want.
Yeah, that would have to get broken up. I don't think I could just give it all to one.
No, it can be broken up.
Yeah. One would definitely be animals.
Okay.
And I've also, for years, have done the bike rides for Best Buddies and
Oh,
MS.
Yeah.
So I'd probably throw some that way.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Habitat for Humanity.
All right.
I was actually going to do my first house last year, but then I ended up having to have my knee replaced, so I wasn't able to help them work on the house. So I was pretty bummed out about that.
Oh, the one down in Mayhem?
There was one in Manamet.
Oh, yeah, that was the one. Yeah, that was the one before we helped them.
Okay.
Yeah. So, so you've come taken a look at the project, and now they say to us, we're not sure what to do.
Exactly.
Right.
Yes.
So, how do you help me pick my palette of colors?
So we work off of what you have in your house. So if you're keeping your current countertop, you're keeping your current backsplash, we kind of pull the colors from there. A wall color in the kitchen can be changed simply, but
Sure.
those are the bigger things. If you're not already planning on changing those countertops, so we're going to pick out your colors that'll coordinate with that.
And if I am changing them, you're going to help me coordinate with what I'm doing.
Yes, exactly.
So you're part interior designer, part painter.
Yes. Yeah.
Hybrid. You're a hybrid.
Exactly.
That's good. People need to know that.
Oh, and a lot of people need help with it.
100%, because I know for me, I do not have, I have a different kind of creative mind. And so for me, everything's blue and red.
Oh, okay.
Right? So
yeah.
if it's not blue or red, I don't know what to do.
Okay.
So, but if you want to build something crazy, I'll build it for you. Just don't ask me what color to paint it. Okay. Yeah. All right. Good stuff. So that's a wrap for today's episode of the BuildX podcast. Thanks to Lisa from Lisa's Interior Painting for joining us. Please subscribe, like, and share if you've enjoyed it. We'll see you next week. And remember, Lisa, just build, baby.